All right, so we're live, but we are going to go ahead and get ourselves together. I'm trying to find the, oh, there it is.
So we're live, so they hear you talking.
I know we're live, but I want to put my
They hear you talking.
Can we put the commercial on? We're going to put the commercial, just indulge us for like 30 seconds. The commercial like 30 seconds.
Okay.
All right. I like it. I think it's good when we do it like that, but I just need to be a little quicker. All right, so we're back. And we are so excited because we have Representative Priscilla Taylor today with us. As you know, we've been doing our series and talking to our District 20, well, the Democratic those who qualify for the District 20 race that's coming up in a special election in November, November 2nd to be precise, right? So you are with Representative Taylor. Again, my name is Narnique Nikki Grant. I am one of your co-hosts. So I have 5 kids. I ran for school board, and I'm an activist and someone who really truly believes that our people need to be part of the political process. And this is why this show is important, that we learn about legislation, learn about who our elected officials are, talk to our elected officials, be part of the table, the round table, be at the table. And so this is why we do what we do. So I'm going to forward it over to my co-host, and then we're going to read a small snippet of Representative Taylor's bio, and we're going to allow her to speak and tell us what, give her the platform to create, not even create, but the foundation of her campaign, what her vision is for District 20. And we're excited. This is better than the forums that they go to where they have like a minute or two to answer. This time you'll be able to personally get to know Representative Taylor and her heart. Okay, so co-host, your turn.
Yes, good evening, everybody. Thanks again for joining us. You guys have been seeing a lot of our faces lately. We've been doing this for the past couple weeks, speaking to the different candidates. We have the pleasure to speak to former state rep Priscilla Taylor today. And I remember we had gotten in touch with almost everyone, and we was like, anybody who knows Miss Taylor, have her call us, have former Rep Taylor give us a call. And somehow we were able to make that happen, and we're so excited to have you here with us today to discuss the issues. We provide, again, as my co-host said, we provide this platform to give the candidates an opportunity to fully develop what it is that they want to do with that seat, instead of having to try to put all of the answers in like 90 seconds. You know what I mean? So thank you for taking the time to speak with us today. Again, I'm Sandra Sheffer. I'm one of the co-hosts. I'm a practicing attorney. I'm a professor at one of the colleges nearby. I'm a mom of twins. I'm a disability mom. So yeah, that's what we do. And one of the main reasons why we do this is because we want people to have information about the candidates. They need to know, because as we saw in this last legislative session, it matters who you send to represent you. It absolutely matters who you send. And you need to get to know the folks who you're sending there, because some people made some decisions that I think they're regretting right now. I think they're really regretting that. And not only in the state of Florida, it's happening in the state of Texas for sure. There's some women that's like, wait, what? What are they doing? So It is very important to get to know these candidates and make sure you send the right person to represent you. That's somebody that has their own agenda, So Absolutely. That's why we do this. That's why we do this. So,
all right. So I'm going to give you all just a little snippet, but we'll allow Representative Taylor to break it down. But Priscilla Taylor, former commissioner and first African-American mayor of the Palm Beach County Board of County Commissions, is a native Floridian, born and raised in Fort Pierce. She currently resides in West Palm Beach, where she was first elected to the Florida House of Representatives in November 2004 and was re-elected twice as the District 84 representative. She brought to the House more than 25 years of business experience in the insurance industry. I'm gonna let you take it from there, Ms. Taylor. I want people to hear from your voice and hear your heart and talk about your background, and we'll go into questions afterwards.
Okay, well, thank you so much. And I am certainly glad that we did get an opportunity to get together. I believe in radio and getting the word out, social media. Actually, I started a radio program called Coffee Talk with Priscilla Taylor to give the constituents an opportunity to learn more about the people who represent them and what's going on in their community. Exactly what you're doing now. So I commend you for what you're doing. But as you have said, I am a native Floridian, born and raised in Fort Pierce, moved to Palm Beach County probably about 30 to 40 years ago. And actually, after moving here, I sought to be involved. I served on numerous boards and commissions, both here locally and nationally. I owned my own insurance agency. As a matter of fact, I had two, which were both part of Fortune 500 companies, and I sold them when things changed in the insurance industry. I have an undergrad degree from Barry University and a master's from Palm Beach Atlantic University, and I'm the mother of two. But politically, as far as running, my first run was for the commission for the Port Authority. And actually, I never considered myself a politician at that time, and still probably don't. But I was working on a thesis for a paper, and I wanted to learn more about international trade. So I decided, well, there's an opening at the port. Perhaps I should run for it, and then I can learn firsthand what's going on at the port. I did that. I was successful and won 2 terms. Matter of fact, I served as chairwoman twice, and I actually presided over the port during their biggest development with the new cruise terminal and other things that they did there at the port. And I was the presiding person at that time. I left there, went to the Florida House of Representatives, and truly, even with the Florida House, I had no plans to go there. But if you might not remember Hurricane Andrew, but when Hurricane Andrew hit, I was in the insurance industry, had a whole lot of customers, and the insurance rates just skyrocketed. It was no longer like it used to be. And I kept calling my representative and he never got a call back. So I says, well, perhaps I should think about going to Tallahassee. And I did that. I ran, I was successful. After I got there, I was Speaker Pro Tem, and I was Minority Whip. Served on numerous boards, had some legislation through. As you know, the Republicans always have the lead, so sometimes you have to know how to work across those party lines to get things done. So I did get some things done. Got a few awards for my work as far as for women, equal pay, equity for women, and some things in the security and criminal justice and affordable housing and homelessness. But after being there, we had one of the commissioners who took ill here in Palm Beach County, and the then governor, Charlie Crist, who was a Republican at the time. However, he appointed me to come back to Palm Beach County to serve as a commissioner, Palm Beach County Commissioner. So after coming back here, I then became and was elected by my peers because, usually these are mayors, you're actually selected by your peers to serve as a mayor. And as I said, I was the first African-American, the first female. And after serving there at the county, there's so many issues that we had to deal with. But one of the things that I really took on it was really homelessness, because I really feel that any person should have the opportunity to own their own home. And I can remember flying home from Tallahassee to Palm Beach County. And I met with some individuals at a church here where we had people staying because we didn't have any place for homeless individuals to stay. And I met with them, and there was a veteran there. And what he said always touched me, because what he says, well, we can put people on Mars, but you can't even get people a place to live, those who serve the country. And what he said was so true. So I really took it upon myself to really continue that fight for homelessness, affordable housing. I started the mayor's ball here in Palm Beach County so we could get funding on the back end. When I was in Tallahassee, I created laws, one law which actually did go through after I left Tallahassee, but I initially put it forth, and that was for crimes against homeless individuals, because you can't just wait for things to happen and then talk about it. You need to be proactive and get out front on it. So I felt good with some of the things that I have done. There's a lot going on in our community. As you know, District 20 is made up primarily a lot of the voters in Broward County. And then we have Palm Beach County, and which also includes one of the most challenging areas that we have, which is the Glade County. Glade, I'm sorry, not county because it's a part of Palm Beach County, but the Glades, where the actual is 41% poverty level, you know. So we have issues there, and we need to work on that. And one of the things that probably sets me apart from the other candidates is that I have represented the Glades area. I was represented them when I was in the Florida House of Representatives. And when I was there, I was instrumental in getting the monies for the hospital there, because believe it or not, and you all probably would never have even thought that this would happen in a hospital where people are actually sick. You have pipes with rust running through them. So when I saw that, I could not believe that this was happening now in the richest county, you know, in the United States, one of the richest counties. So I was instrumental in bringing dollars for that and the water treatment plant. But anytime I see an issue, I certainly try to make myself available to try to come up with solutions. And now we look at what's happening, because you might say, well, why are you running? The last time I ran was in 2016 when I served as county commissioner. But when we see what's going on now, you know, I just don't feel it's right to suppress our votes. I don't feel it's right to take away my right to choose. I don't feel it's right for when we see buildings falling down that you have a part of our system saying that there is nothing else as climate change. You know, when we see crime happening. So things need to change. We need a strong voice. We need someone with experience. And I feel that I have all of that. I have it, and I want to go to Washington to be able to continue the fight that I've already started. So I'll turn it back to you.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I was
All right,
thinking
you can start co-host with your questions.
So you actually made an interesting transition that I wanted some clarification on, right? You said you had a House rep seat, and then you were appointed by the governor to come back to Palm Beach and become a commissioner. So how does that transition work? Does someone else now have to run for your seat? And why did you think it was necessary, or what was the benefit to you or to your constituents for you to make a transition from being a House rep to go back into the county commission?
Well, at the time, the commissioner that we had here, Addie Green, took ill, and I felt that since I live in the district of the county as well as the district for the state house seat, I could still help these same people. They're all the same people in the district. So it's a process where you put in to be considered. And if the governor chooses you, then you're the one who comes back. And the governor did. I had people from the community who were actually asking for me to get the seat. And I felt that I did the right thing, because like I said, I was still able to help the individuals in the district. The district that I had then was District 84 when I was in Tallahassee, and when I came back, obviously I said Palm Beach County. So the seat was an open seat. As you see right now, you have individuals who left the district to run for this seat. So now they will have a special election whenever, I guess, the governor decides he want to do it. And then, those seats will be replaced.
Yeah, so I just asked that more for an understanding on how that works, right? Like when one seat became vacant, how is it that it get filled? So that's the main reason, because we want to understand it, because we're seeing that it's about at least, I think maybe 4 or so, maybe 3 or 4 other candidates had to resign. Actually, I think it's like maybe 5 even have resigned their seats in order for them to run for this position. And those spaces are vacant. So we have a lot of unrepresented folks right now, right? So we have the District 20 folks that are unrepresented because the governor did what he did, and now there's no one filling that spot right now. And then the other folks who had to leave their positions in order for them to run. Some of them will be replaced by elections, and others, because there's 2 county commission seats, at least in Broward County, where people are 2 of those positions are being vacated, and the governor DeSantis is going to have the opportunity to appoint someone for that position. So we're seeing what you experienced for different reasons. I understand why your situation took place, but we're seeing people making these types of choices, and we're also having to deal with.
Well, and I don't mean to cut you Yep, and I don't mean to cut you, co-host, but remember that was a bill that he signed along with the SB, the voter suppression to resign to run, because initially they didn't have the resign to run, right?
Right.
That's something, and that's something to do, because if we didn't have that, even though those seats may not have been vacant, because they still would have the opportunity to retain their position and continue on if they
lose. Even if they lose, they can keep their.
Now, and that was a very strategic a strategic thing on DeSantis's goal to do is basically to try to kind of just make sure that they can put their people in these spaces. So,
Yeah, it's really a critical time now, though, for Democrats, because the redistricting is happening now, and with those seats vacant, I don't know if it, I'm sure it would have some meaning as to how the lines are drawn, but unfortunately, people have to make decisions best for them, and so I just leave it there.
Yep, absolutely. So we can go to, I have my question, but we can go to a question in the chat. We can do a question in the chat. This is a good one.
Okay.
What do you think is the top, I don't know if are you able to see it, Representative? It says, what do you think is the top priority for citizens of District 20 that you plan to address if elected?
Well, one of the challenges, as I mentioned, that one of the most challenging areas that we have is the Glades area. And what I like to do is try to work on the building some relationships so that we can get the economy going in the Glades area. Have job training, do some incentives to bring companies there so that we can partner with them to be able to hire individuals from that community so that they could have good paying jobs, because that poverty, that level needs to go down. It's unheard of to have such a thing. But when you look at District 20, we're affected by the same thing everybody else is affected by. Climate change is a horrible thing. That causes, the storms, the flooding, which we have not experienced within the past few years, however, but we've had our share of that bad weather as a result of climate change. And then you all down south, it's Dade County, but it's very close to Broward, with Surfside with that. And I'm almost convinced from my history of being in the insurance industry that part of that probably was from climate change. So that's an issue. Criminal justice, to me, is always going to be an issue, because we see that it's disparate treatment for African Americans or people of color. When I was a county commissioner, I did get ordinance through, but we had a sheriff who really felt that he didn't want to do what our ordinance said. One of them was the decriminalization of marijuana, because I do feel that if you have a small amount of marijuana, why not give a civil citation rather than locking these kids up and then they lose scholarships? And if it's an adult, sometimes they can't get a place to live because you have a record. So when we look at the sentencing guidelines and what we're doing with criminal justice, that needs to change. That's one of the issues that I want to work on. Affordable housing is certainly one. Right now, we know here in Palm Beach County, I think the average house is about $500,000. You have developers coming in who buy land, and then they say, well, we're going to have some affordable housing in there. But then we know gentrification comes in, and they might build two houses, that's affordable housing, and the rest of it is people who would never have lived in that area unless this developer moved in. So that is an issue. We know healthcare is an issue. So like I said, there's a lot of issues that we have to be concerned about, but affordability and accessibility of healthcare is certainly a need that we have. When we look at COVID, even though a lot of that is free, but somehow we've got to be able to educate the individuals about what they need to do and not listen to what they're hearing on the radio or the television, because social media for sure. Mm-hmm. Because I was listening to the news today, I think they said that 3 people in Dade died, I think, over the past couple of days from COVID, and none of them had their vaccination shots. Mm-hmm. So, to me, I think vaccination shots is critical. We got to do it. I had mine, and I certainly encourage other people to do the same thing, unless you have health issues and you cannot do it.
And they even had an article. The Herald had an article yesterday about, I think it's about 10 or 11 teachers in Dade County have passed away. Either teachers or staff have passed away from COVID, unvaccinated folks from COVID, before school even, and school started 3 weeks ago there. And they've already had, the students have to deal with that level of loss. So they are so much so that they've set up a site, a vaccination site, on one of the campuses at the school so people can come and get vaccinated at the school.
Yeah, thank God that the judge ruled against DeSantis, because he was making it a crime if you even wore a mask to school, and so at least right now, I don't know, he'll probably appeal. I guess you can appeal, right?
You can appeal the appeal.
He already appealed it, and so we're waiting to see how that goes.
Appealed the new one today?
Well, that was a new decision that just came out, like I think today. Oh right? It came out today. Yeah, so I don't know if he appealed that one already.
He just appealed one yesterday, so the new decision must be something else. Well, there was one in Orlando that they said that the judge said, no, we're going to continue wearing masks. We don't care what you're saying. And so to get back, Representative Taylor, you mentioned about affordability, and I know a couple of the candidates that are running talk about universal basic income. And some feel that it will work, some feel that it won't work, some talk about the numbers. But what are your thoughts on the UBI?
It sounds wonderful. I mean, if someone is going to give you extra money, but the only problem that we know we have, and we have to be realistic, is that it has to pass the House and it has to pass the Senate. And right now, you are not going to get the senators to pass anything for universal income. I know Cory Booker, he even changed what he had put out there and say, well, we give $1,000 for infants when they're born. But to give money, it just all sounds wonderful. And I'm sure that there are people who could use it, but you've got to realize that, one, you got to have a way to pay for it. And number two, you've got to get it passed. And if you can't get it passed, you can talk about it every year and hopefully that the Democrats will take over. But then even you have Democrats sometimes who don't favor these things happening. So I could say that I like the idea of giving money to help individuals, and I certainly do. And this $300 for children, I think that's wonderful, because we have too many kids in poverty who don't have, their families don't have money to take care of them. So I think that should be a continuous thing. I think that Social Security needs to be looked at, and they can raise that amount and certainly extend some coverages beneficial, as far as vision and dental with the Social Security, Medicare, because right now there is no coverage for dental or vision, and individuals who are dependent upon this for their medical care have to have this expense. So, but back to what you're saying about the universal, that basic income, I just do feel that it sounds good, but to me, we have to work on things that we feel that we can get through.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but and I think there's light. There's some way that can get through, and one of the things we need to do is elect more Democratic senators, right? And I mean, like real Democratic senators, not the ones that's kind of borderline and they're Democratic names only. We don't need any more dinos in the Senate, because we have that right now, to the point where when they were talking about trying to get a minimum wage passed, it was like 8 Democrats that was like, no. We're like, wait, what? We thought we had to worry about the Republicans, but we got to worry about 8 Democrats.
Worry about the Democrats.
$15 is too much. So we definitely, and the people need to understand the power that they have, right? So the person you sit there, yes, they're the one that's going to be there speaking for you, but if they're not doing a good job, they should not keep their jobs. Don't feel as though you need to keep these folks in office, especially now. And I mean, I'm talking about the people that have been there the last 4 years. They basically told you what side of the line they're going to be on. They're letting you know where they stand on the issues. Believe them. All right, they've spoken in the last year or two. They've spoken, but leave them. And the one that's on the wrong side of history, they should not be allowed to maintain their positions. And that's just the end of it. This absolutely needs to be non-negotiable, because the bullying that we've seen happen not only in Congress, just in the Florida, in like these the Florida Congress, like state and Senate offices, the things that we've seen is completely unacceptable, and the people need to take note and literally give these people something else to do, because clearly they cannot handle and manage the responsibility that they have right now. Okay, because this is absolutely out of control, and they absolutely have to go.
We watched the last session, and I have to tell you, Sandra and I, we took turns. We watched, and sometimes we watched together, and those went on for hours, as you know, Honorable Taylor. But we watched it, and we did that deliberately, because we wanted to be able to experience and learn and see who is for us and who is not for us, right? And so this is why we do what we do. We brought the information back. We talked about it on our show. This was the most contentious, in my opinion, I've ever seen the Florida Senate. The most contentious.
And you have the worst people there. I mean, they are all from the panhandle. They don't. I can remember when I was in the House of Representatives, and I used to think to myself, wonder what type people do they represent, that they that there's something that's just fundamental that we do, all of us do, that they would vote against it. I can remember when we had this gun bill, Stand Your Ground. And that was a horrible bill from the very beginning. And I can remember debating it on the floor. And actually, the person who put it forward owned a funeral home. So I don't know whether his, what was in his name was Baxley. I'll never forget it, because I was saying, I said, so you tell me that if you have a kid who might look different from you and you feel threatened, then you have the right to shoot them or do some harm to them. And to think that we had Democrats who voted for that bill, Stand Your Ground bill. So, we need to ask the right questions but then sometimes they know to give what answers to give us. And once they get there, then you see the real true colors. But right now, based upon what's happening in Washington with that filibuster, because that is preventing Joe Biden. And I do respect President Biden. I think he has a great agenda, but right now the filibuster is keeping anything that he wants to get through from happening. And then you have Joe Manchin, who seems to feel that he's now the functionary president, because he can say...
And Christian Sinema from Arizona that pretended to be progressive when she was running.
Yeah, exactly. So they're holding up everything that could make a difference. The infrastructure bill, the voters' rights bill, even the George Floyd bill in the Senate, to me, that's just common sense. You saw this with your own eyes, but yet you will not support it. So we have an issue. We have a problem.
I am so glad you mentioned that, because I know a lot of people tend to want to skirt around. One of the things that I admired about you, looking at some of the forums where you were very honest about how you felt, and you didn't sugarcoat anything. And Democrats should know that it's okay to criticize, and it's as long as it's constructive criticism, to criticize when things are not right for everyone. And for you to say that, and Chandra and I have had conversations about Biden, about the in my opinion, the lackluster of using his powers to do or to make it happen. Some of the things, when the former president was throwing out, what did they call it again? When he what's that thing? He was throwing executive orders. Yeah, whatever he wanted. And I'm not saying that Joe Biden should do that. But what I am saying is that when it's something like the filibuster that's causing us to not get some of these very important legislation passed, in order for those, these states that are kind of basically going rogue, and taking away, making decisions on women's reproductive organs, making decisions on who gets the vote and how to get the vote. We have to be a little bit more progressive. And so I'm really happy that you mentioned that, because a lot of the other candidates while they may imply it, they did not outright say it, and I appreciate that you did that.
And one of the things we also need to understand too is that, the former president used to sign executive orders. Not half, like 90% of them were in litigation, right? They were really just for show. So, and because he did it so much, people think like that's what presidents can do. Yeah. And so Joe Biden realized that, this is not a game. It's not for show. And literally the former president had so many people in the Justice Department just litigating foolishness that they really couldn't even do their job. So that whole idea of like, oh, if you want to get it past sign an executive order, it's an absolute myth, and most of it was for show on the part of the former president.
Exactly. Well, Trump was just Trump. I don't know. I guess I have.
I don't even know how we made it through. I don't know how we made it through. We did.
I don't know. That's behind us, and hopefully it stays back there.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So you mentioned about going across the aisle and working with your Republican colleagues. I know that this is very important, especially in our state, with the little bit of people we have. If you are privileged and get elected to this position, one of the things I had a question about is term limits, and how do you feel about that? Because your predecessor was there for a good amount of time, and not taking away anything from the great Alcee Hastings, but there should be some more advancement, in my opinion, for District 20 that I haven't seen. That term limits is one. The second thing is that the other candidates, when we talk about going against the aisle and having conversations, not so much that we're saying that it needs to be contentious, but we want people who are going to mean what they say what they mean, and be consistent. And so you have a track record. You've been in this political realm for quite some time. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, one, I agree with term limits. I think that sometimes, we miss good ideas when we continue the same thing, so I don't know how long, but in my mind, I do feel that term limits would be good. I think Alcee was in the for what 29
years. Yeah, like 92.
Yeah. And I loved Alcee and have all the respect for him, but he's not the only one who's been there forever. I do think that we need to take a look at it. I always have been, and I guess that's because I have owned my own business, and being a business owner, you sell to Democrats, you sell to Republicans, you sell to old people, and you sell to young people. I pride myself in being able to get along with all, and when I was in Tallahassee, I was a Democrat, period. That was never a question. But if there were issues that I felt that I could talk to someone from the opposite party and get them to support, which I did. To me, that is very important, because a lot of it, as you all know, is about relationships. You cannot just get everything that you want to get done without having some relationships outside of yourself and everybody who thinks like you think. So, but yeah, no, I did do it. And I feel that if I am lucky and fortunate to go to Washington, I would do it there. Doesn't mean that I'm going to give up my democratic thoughts and things like that. No, but I have sense enough to know that when I talk about trying to partner and bring companies in to our communities, sometimes somebody on the opposite side might have relationships with someone who can make that call and get me in to try to sell my area to bring that company in. So I'm just saying that, when you go to Tallahassee, Washington, you can't just work with the Democrats. You got to reach across the line at some point. You do. Mm-hmm. And I think that we have to give Biden credit for that. I know he'd been up there a long time himself, but that's something that he did and something that he understands. And I think when you talk to any successful legislator, you'll find that is something that they were able to do. It makes a difference.
There's a question, a follow-up question, and say, can you give an example of an issue that you worked on where you had to reach across the aisle and you were successful in getting the legislation passed? Well,
one of the things that I did, and we had a situation where we had a guy who was wrongfully incarcerated, and this is what comes to my mind. I think his name was Alan, and I was had his case, and he was released, but there was argument as to about the money for him, because he was supposed to, if you wrongfully incarcerate someone and you're an attorney, they should get money. He didn't truthfully get enough of it, I didn't think, but we were able to get the legislature, the House, to support giving Alan money. And that was one case where, I reached across the aisle and I did get them to come to help. I even had a relationship with the governor. I mean, we had a relationship with Governor Chris, and if there's something that I thought that I needed him to intervene on, I mean, most times he would say no, but sometimes he would say okay, because when I was working on, when I went up there. And I had mentioned about the Glades area. That was one of my areas. And you might not understand what I'm about to say, but the Port of Palm Beach is landlocked. And so you can't go north, you can't go south with it. Only place you can go is west. So in my mind, we could create jobs and bring good paying jobs to the Glades area. So I met with the Army Corps to try to bring in an inland port into the Glades area. I discussed that with Charlie Chris to see if I could get him on board to help me get money to bring back, to the district to make this happen. So there are many ways that you employ the building relationships and the people from the other side.
Yeah, and then there's a couple other, legal issues with that compensation. States have immunity, right? They have sovereign immunity,
right?
And there's limits on what a person can get, and in order for them to get above that, someone has to introduce the bill, and legislation has to get passed in order for them to get paid. So I just wanted to explain that. I just wanted to explain that, but for the folks so they can understand how that part of it works. So thank you for that. So and definitely we're happy to hear that you're trying to bring some sort of economic opportunity to Glades. I live out west. I'm actually 45 minutes from South Bay. I could probably get to South Bay quicker than I could get to downtown Miami on any morning, just because of the traffic. And you can see the difference in just those communities that are like 45 minutes away. Where are we living? Like, what year is this? Right? Like,
whole different world. Different world.
It's an absolutely a different world. And I know, I went to the University of Florida. There's some really good football players that come out of that area. They have some very good athletes that come out of that area, but it's still not enough, right? We need to find ways for people to really be able to earn a living and not just be like, I'm going to be a football star one day and then that's how I'll make my money. We know that that's not necessarily how everyone's
not real.
That's not realistic for everyone. Those athletes are a very small percentage of the folks. And yes, we're not dream killers here. We want people to dream big, but we also need to create opportunities that are more realistic for folks.
Exactly.
So on that point, I've asked this question before. We want to talk about education. There's talk out there of like making college free, right? That's one of the things that that's being discussed. The other thing is some sort of loan forgiveness program that I think many of us would benefit from because we have student loans, right? And then the other thing is we're always worried about students on the college level, but what about those who won't go to college, right? I went to school when they had trades in school. Like we took wood shop, we did home economics. I learned how to type in middle school and all of these different things. Like, what, if anything, would you do in order for us to maybe bring some co-sponsor some legislation to bring trades back in school, because again, everyone's not going to college. And then what's your position on everyone getting a free undergraduate degree and on loan forgiveness?
Okay, well, I'll try to remember. You might have to remind me if I forget something.
School, free college and loan forgiveness.
Well, let's do loan forgiveness. Loan forgiveness. Yes. I do feel that, that the student loan, I mean, And they'll track you down. You can be 100 years old, I think, and if you didn't pay your student loan, they're gonna find you.
Serious about that.
For 20 years. No, seriously, I've known someone where they did not get a tax return for like 15, 20 years.
I know.
And they still owe $10,000.
Right,
I'm like,
right.
y'all don't got income tax checks for 15 years. How is the debt still the same?
Right.
So,
Yeah. So no, I do feel I like what Magnet's done. I think he just recently enacted. I think this was executive order for the loans for student loans up to I think what 50,000 or something like that.
Yeah,
but I know he did it recently.
For people with disabilities.
Yeah, it was for people with disability. You're absolutely correct. But I do feel that we need to have something. Even look at the people who are with this high interest rate or whatever. But loan forgiveness is critical, for especially people starting out. They shouldn't have to worry about having to pay for, that which could be forever. I believe in trade school. I really do feel that we should have in our, I think when I was in school, they called it OJT or something like that, on the job training, where you take a trade and then you go and work the other half of the day within that trade. Because sometimes I think we all get confused and think that you got to be a lawyer or a doctor or Indian chief in order to make a good salary. No, those guys that do air conditioning, and I say air conditioning because I had to call one recently and charge me enough that he must make pretty good. So yeah. I do feel that the trades is very important. I think the unions actually, with their apprentice programs, with the building trade, I think all of that are things that we need to look at. And that's what I was speaking of when I mentioned about the Glades area. And I keep saying the Glades area, but obviously if there are opportunities to bring other businesses in, period, in District 20, we would do it. But if we can bring businesses in who actually would partner with us and allow us to have, if we give them tax breaks or tax incentives, to have some type of a training program, and then they hire the individuals, I think that would put us way ahead. Because right now, $15 an hour, even though that's more than we were making, but it still leaves a lot to be desired. So I support all of that 100%.
Oh, and what about free college?
Did I miss one of them that you said?
Free college. What about free college?
Well, I think I think junior college. Yeah, I do. I feel it should be free. Yeah, I do. I mean, now, private school's different, but you talk public school.
Okay. You're on mute.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. That's what I was saying. That's what I'm talking about. Free. Why we can't get it free? Other countries have free colleges.
Right.
What we doing?
Right. Yeah. We have a lot of barriers, I think, that prevent people from getting better educated.
Yeah, right. And the thing about it is, when we talk about especially some of those private schools, like the amount of money that they charge folks for some of these degrees, it's like they're not going to make that income. Like, and I don't want to call out any of the names of the schools, because I worked at a school that was for profit that ended up being like, a not for profit, but it started off as one of those for profit schools. And and I'm just like, how much did this pharmacy tech degree cost? Like, how are you charging somebody $40,000 to get a degree in pharmacy tech, and when they start working, they're going to make $10, $12 an hour, and they literally could have gotten that job without your $40,000 degree, right? And so in that instance, those folks really were tricked, because a lot of those jobs were treated as sales positions, and so those students were given promises were made to them that weren't true, and now they're stuck with $40,000 in student loans that's getting interest and they won't ever be able to pay that. So and then their credit is going to be messed up for the rest of their life, right? Because that student loan debt never gets off your credit report, and it's like an absolute horrible setup for so many folks, right? And so something definitely should be done about that. And I did see that the students that went to ITT Tech, that was another one of those for-profit schools, they've actually forgiven all of the loans from that particular institution. So I did see that happen. But there are a couple other schools, and again, I don't want to go the whole calling out, that those students deserve that same treatment, because
there's a lawsuit, Yeah, there was a lawsuit, I think, against the one you mentioned, and that's why.
It's a few of them that sued, but some of them are still. So what happened was some of these for-profit schools, they were bought out by like bigger school groups, and so even though they're being sued, they're so big, and then they're they're dealing with reputable institutions too, that they're not they're not gonna make them.
Only in America.
Yeah, that's the political side of education. And that's the thing, right? Like once you turn everything into a business, this is what happens, right? They took healthcare. Yeah. I mean, I remember healthcare before HMOs, right? And once the HMOs came, it's just like healthcare is like, it's crazy. Like you need a degree in insurance to understand it, right? So when you're trying to pick your plan, it's like, okay, like how is it gonna work? It's like you're never gonna understand it, and it feels like it never works for you. So you just be like, all right,
you just take it
that this works, right? And that was all because of HMO, and then they turned education into business, and now prisons is also a business, and we're seeing what's happening with that.
Right.
All right. So you have the next question?
No, she answered all of my questions and most of the questions we asked the other candidates. She Representative Taylor answered it while she was just talking about what the vision is. And so it was just laid out there, and she was just straight to the point. And I love that.
I do have one question about a follow-up question about one of the things you talked about, and you were talking about how you've done like homelessness. You've worked on a lot of projects dealing with homelessness. I actually do a homeless project, like we're doing it about every 6 weeks. It was back to school, so we haven't done it, and I'll do my next project again in October. But like, how do you see resolving this homeless situation, right? Because it's like a lot of different organizations that's getting funding to do certain things, but when I go out there every 6 weeks or so, it's like the same folks out there. It's like they're moving them from one block to the next. How do we really address this homeless situation in South Florida?
And is anyone talking to the homeless? Because when we go out, because I help Sandra too, when we go out and we talk to the homeless, they know what's going on. Some of them are really aware of what these organizations are doing. And remember that one guy, he was like, why don't they come and ask us what we need? Like, what do there's things that we can tell them to do with it. So how do you see that working out?
Yeah, an example that that Narnique's talking about, like apparently there's an organization in South Florida that got $1 million funding, and they said, we're gonna build a garden, like a farm, like a garden, a place where you can plant like a farm, and that's what they wanted to do. And the homeless dude was like, "Yo, that's what you think we need? For you to like get some land and build a farm?" He was like, "Okay, they should talk to us first instead of giving people $1 million to like
see what they want.
Do a garden."
It's really it's really an issue. And I went out and talked to the homeless myself. I at one point I think the people some of the staff got a little concerned because I really just I would go. I'd start going to this store. It's a 7-Eleven around here. And I saw one homeless guy and he kind of, because he was sitting there reading. And he was reading the Bible. So I think maybe that's what got me too. He might have just been sitting there trying to look like it. But anyway, I did go up to him and I even asked the guy in the store. So I was trying to actually bring him in, off the street. And I sent our hot team out to talk to him after I had talked to him and kind of befriended him a little bit. And then like the day that he was supposed to come in, because they told me when. So I went to the store and I said, "So where's Bill?" That was his name. And the guy in the store says, "Well, I think he's been drinking, So I found him a few days later. I mean, I went back to the store and he said to me, he says, "Well, I don't want to be around all those men, because where they were going to put him was in a housing place where they had men, they had a women's dorm and a men's dorm. So some of them want to come in and some of them don't want to come in. But what you're saying is if there is an organization that got a lot of money, then they should be held accountable to what they do with that money. And I don't know if it came from the federal government or just maybe a organization that gave it to them. But I mean, I see where we need housing for individuals who are homeless out here on the street, apartments or houses or whatever. And a lot of them still need food. when I see the things that's on television, like in Chicago and New York, and they have the homeless build, like places where homeless people can go and eat and then sleep and have someplace. And I asked here in Palm Beach County, I said, so why can't we do that? We can at least get people off the street and then deal with them as far as employment and things like that. And the answer I got was that having the staff to take care of a place that is, that large, because I was thinking of a larger place, so that the homeless people could go in, because everybody, if we can't find an apartment for them, a house for them, then let's at least get them off the street and find some place where they can eat and take a shower and sleep without having to worry about it. So there are a lot of issues around it. And I hate all that we always say, well, let's study it to see the best way to do it. But sometimes you have to do that in order to be able to affect the change that you really want. I'd love to see everybody homeless to get off the street. A lot of these people that we see on the corners, though, are people who are working in an industry, because I've sat back, parked my car and watched them on the corners getting money. And then at the end of the day, somebody pulls up in a van and they give all the money to the
I think it's gonna work.
She's frozen.
Yeah.
Person in the van. I'm here. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
You froze for a little bit.
You froze a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
But repeat, I know you said that sometimes at the end of they on the corner, and then they give all the money to someone in the van. That's the last part we heard.
Yeah. Well, that's the last thing I said, because a lot of the panhandlers, that is, because I know a lot of places want to get the panhandlers off the streets. As a matter of fact, we did ordinances to try to, because when people pull up to an intersection and people coming out begging for money and things like that. So you try to work with those individuals who do that. But then you find out that actually some of them are actually working and taking that money, and they have a boss, somebody over them that they give that money to at the end of the day.
Yeah, and a lot of them aren't homeless. Most of the ones that are staying on, they're at least in Broward County, they're not homeless. They live maybe like in a group home or some sort of facility, and that's where they earn their money, right? And I teach in the criminal justice program, and I tell my students, like, once you get past the shame of begging, right? Like, if you could get past the shame and embarrassment of begging, you can make more money begging than if you go to work for like a whole shift, right? And I was not encouraging that behavior, but I'm just saying why some people make that choice, right? Like, instead of working 8 hours and making $64 or whatever, they can stand on the corner and probably make $60 in like an hour or two, okay? Right. But you got to just get past the shame and embarrassment of standing on the corner begging every day. You know what I mean? When you get past that, that's work. You know what I mean? Like,
it is work, because I sure wouldn't want to be out there in that 100-degree weather trying to get it, but still, but there are definitely So, it's a hard thing, truthfully. And when I started to make
sorry about
that. Go ahead.
Yeah, so the homeless community is a tricky one, because, like I said, we deal with them too, and and we've heard that, because there's one of the guys where we go. He's been homeless for 30 years, right? And the people in the community he they got him in housing before, and it lasted like 3-4 months, and he was just like, nope. He's good where he at. So they find a place for him. Like, some of the folks there make sure he has a place to go to the bathroom, and that he gets to take a shower every couple of days. But he literally has been living on the street for 30 years. And one of the things that we also notice too is, like, a lot of times folks aren't willing to give up their community, because we go to different blocks. So, like, we go to several different blocks, do the distribution, and like, they're tight knit. Like, they know each other, and they look out for each other. It's like, yo, my friend need this. The guy in here, this tent doesn't have legs, so they look out for each other. So when you do give, like, when people are offering them a place to go live, it's away from that community. And you're like, well, it's a place and it's inside, it's not on the street. But we all need community, right? Because as people, as humans, that's what we need. We need that interaction. So if maybe there could be some sort of program that will allow them to, like, move in a space with the community that they've already built instead of like separating them out and put them in all different.
Or another suggestion when we were talking to one of the homeless guys is that to have a facility where they can come and take a shower, eat, and leave. They just want to be able to have a facility, a standalone building where they know that they could come in, take a shower. They know they're going to have to be, they know for a fact they're going to have a shower. They know they can wash their clothes and they can get a meal to eat. And then it's a transient facility, because we did learn that some of them are okay with being on the streets with their community. And they prefer it that way. Some of them prefer it that way. So that was one of the things that remember the one guy.
So like the preference. I mean, I don't know. The preference is a tricky word, right? Like I don't want to say it's preference, right? No, but that responsibility of that day to day is not for everybody, right? Like having to pay all them bills, it's just not for everybody. So I don't know if it's necessarily like a preference that they're on the street. It's just that day to day paying their mortgage and the rent and the light and the water and the this and that, it can become overwhelming for a lot of folks. So they're like, you know what? I don't want all that responsibility. And if for me not to have that responsibility means I need to live like this, then I'll live like this. But it's so, I don't know. Preference is the real word.
Some of them say they'd rather be there than be in a spot,
Right, because they move around, the responsibility that come with it, and they use that sense of community that they have. So they're like, if I got,
maybe I'll use the word rather. Okay, not preference.
but just because is it Broward or Dade? Because you all have a beverage tax for the home that goes to the homeless. And
that must be in Dade, because they kind of give them all.
Maybe it's Dade because
they're on the street, but they got a tent that the county give to them. So.
They still have people on the street, but they're
on the streets with a tent.
Maybe they're using part of that money for tents. But but they do have a facility, a home, because I know I have taken people down to visit the facility down in Dade, because they do have a beverage tax, and that the money from that tax.
But it's never enough beds. Camilla's house is always full.
Camilla's, okay. I've heard of Camilla's, and there's one in Miami too.
That's
it does my heart good to know that at least one candidate is all about the homeless and all about those who need it. So I know Pahokee. Well, I'm being honest. I'm telling the truth. That's how I feel. That's my opinion. I know you mentioned Glades a lot, and are you also thinking about Pahokee? Because Pahokee's also very
same area. It's the same area.
It's the same area. Same area.
One city.
Pardon me?
Is that one city, or they're two separate cities?
It's three small cities right there together. You have Belle, Glade, South Bay, and Pahokee. And they're all right there together. Yeah.
Oh.
So you say the Glades area, you're talking about all three of them, even though they have, each of them have their own government. However, they all have their own issues as well. So
Wow. Yeah. Okay, and that's all within that District 20.
It is all in if you look at the district, and you'll know how it kind of goes way out and then comes back in. That's picking up the Blaze area. Yeah.
Wow.
And it remains to be seen whether this district is going to have Palm Beach in it after the redistricting. We don't know what's going to happen. Palm Beach might not even be in it, because this district has changed. Before, when it was, I think, 23 when LC had it, and I know he and I had talked about it, because a lot of that. Because then we had Delray, we had Boynton, and all those in the district. But none of that's in the district now.
But isn't 23 is Wasserman Schultz now, right?
Yeah,
isn't that
changed.
Wasserman Schultz?
Yeah. Okay. So they split it between Ted Deutsch and Lois and Debbie. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's one thing that we have to mention on our show, is that there's about 5 to 7 public meetings for redistricting, and they take public input, and so we will be putting that up on our Facebook pages and our shows to let everyone know when those dates are in Broward. I don't know about Palm Beach, but I'll try to research and get that. But it's important that we be part of that conversation. Representation matters, so being part of the conversation with redistricting is very, very important.
I agree.
And putting those informations up too, because I'm assuming that everybody's doing that right now, because we gained a seat after the census. Is that correct?
Yeah, but that's over on the near Orlando area.
Orlando area.
It's gonna be that I-4 quarter. Yeah.
Right.
So I have one last question about police reform. Some of the progressive state attorneys, prosecutors are talking about this no cash bail, right? And that's part of the criminal justice reform, like no cash bail. And then for non-violent offenders, right? What's your position on those particular issues, right? About no cash bail on non-violent offenders, maybe decriminalizing sex work and also decriminalizing addiction. Those are part of the criminal justice reform, not just dealing with policing, about laws in and of themselves.
Okay, now I agree with the no cash bail. That I think is a good thing. But when you said no sex, something.
Yeah, for sex workers, right? Because sex, a lot of times sex workers are usually women, single moms, or men that are homosexual, young homosexual men that are selling their body as a mode of survival, right? So for them, that's work, right? I'm not no judgment here, but that's the work. Like a lot of times men go and steal, right? Women sell their bodies, and that's the way if they're in that survival mode, that's the way they that's where they earn money. So there's been talk to really decriminalize that sex work because it disproportionately affects poor folks and people of color.
That's the first I've heard that one about. No, it is. I mean, the cash bail for certain. The sex work is, you're talking prostitution, right?
Yes,
basically.
Yes, ma'am.
Do they have prostitution at a degree, like first degree prostitution, second degree prostitution?
So there's a misdemeanor prostitution, and there's also felony level prostitution. Okay. And usually you get into a felony level prostitution if you have a disease. So that's how it becomes a felony. But other than that,
I guess if you could say misdemeanor.
Prostitution is a misdemeanor, but if you have like certain infections,
if you keep it like that, I think I can handle that being, no bail. I mean, cash bail or whatever you're saying. I think the safety in the community, anything higher, we certainly have to be cognizant of that issue. But and then with the dope, it's the same thing because a lot of people get on drugs and you might say no cash bail, they go back out and elevate their crime. But if it stays as a misdemeanor or a lower charge, then sure.
What about providing treatment instead of sending them to jail? Because an addict and you put them in jail, you're not dealing with their addiction. They're getting arrested tomorrow.
They're gonna still probably
get 15 months later.
So, because I agree with that. Put the bracelet on the leg or whatever, and have some kind of public service, doing volunteer work or something, some way to make it known, but still you don't have to put them in jail for that to happen.
Right.
Because we have drug courts now, which does that, but it mainly handles that with people with heroin addiction because.
And that's why they created the drug court, because I know Judge Rogers here in Palm Beach County is the one who created the drug court, and for that specific reason.
I just think it should be expanded because it's usually for first offenders and stuff like that, and when you're dealing with a person that's an addict,
they're gonna go back and do it.
You don't treat them, they're gonna keep getting arrested.
So. And you have to put them in some kind of training, something has to come with it so that they can get, know that it's not right and accept some responsibility for what they've done. But I do feel that it is just not necessary to fill our jails up with individuals who have the lower level crimes.
Right. All right. Absolutely. Awesome. All right. So Representative Taylor, can you tell us please where people can where they can donate to your campaign, where they can go to volunteer, your website, how can you be reached so we can blast that out? While we always try to do that towards the end of our time together. Unless you have any more questions, co-host.
No. I think I had my notes. I got them all covered. Thank you so much.
The former Representative Taylor just answers the questions when she's talking about it. It's just like I don't even get. I mean, like she touched it all. She just hits it. So
I just started talking. I'm sorry, but that's just me.
No, I mean this is great. I think people have a good idea of who you are. I think this is a great platform for you because it's all about you and talking about what your vision is for District 20. And we wish you nothing but good luck.
Thank you.
Just tell us where you can be reached, how we can put your website out there, where you know it's $5, $10, $20. She'll take it all.
Okay, we take it all.
She need food. If you come work for her, she got water because it's hot outside.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly. But it's Priscilla Taylor for Congress.com. That's my website, and
all right.
And I can do, that has all the information, Facebook, and all of my information right there. And I'll give you the phone number if you know.
Yes, absolutely.
561-844-9905.
9905. All right. So we're going to put that out there and put it on there. So it's Priscilla Taylor for Congress. And we're going to put this on banner.com. Yep. Mm-hmm. And you can reach her at 561-844-9905. It has been a complete pleasure talking with former representative. I keep calling her representative. People probably think she's on in the state, in the House already. I apologize. Former Representative Priscilla Taylor, who is now running for Congress seat District 20, which is a special election that will be happening November 2nd. We are a closed primary state, which means that if you are a registered Democrat, you will only be voting for a Democrat. If you are a registered Republican, you will only be voting for the Republican candidate that they have. All you MPAs, we've had a big number. You still have time to switch your positions. Okay, the Democrats will openly let you come in in open arms. So if you can, please switch. You have up until October 4th to register to vote in order to vote in the January election. October 4th is the very last day you can register. However, you still can change your party. We still have time. And we hope that you do decide to come on over to the side of consciousness and truth and transparency.
Exactly.
And Taylor didn't get to summarize why it is that folks should vote for her. We know that to reach you at PriscillaTaylorCongress.com. We have your phone number, but tell them why they should vote for you, and you're the perfect person for this position.
Well, I have served the people of Florida because every seat that I have had has touched someone someplace in Florida, even outside of the districts that I have served. I feel that experience matters. I am experienced. I have the desire to make the change within District 20 to make sure that everybody has the representation that they need to be able to articulate and go through the things that's happening right now. We have a lot going on, and who better to serve you than someone who's already walked the walk, talked the talk, and know what's going on in the community. So I just feel that I am that person, and I want to be the voice in Washington for District 20.
Thank you.
And also, I just wanted to mention to you guys too and you didn't say it, and I know you already know it because you guys know everything, but there is no runoff. Whatever happens on the 2nd is it. There's no runoff. That's it. Other than going to January.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
So whoever wins the Democratic nomination is the one who will go on in January to go against the write-in candidate, the MPA candidate, the Libertarian candidate, and the Republican.
Even if it's one vote, some
even
people
if it's
think,
one vote. Yep.
Yeah.
It's one vote. Yep. Yeah.
In the primaries last year, there were a couple votes that had to do manual recounts. So
right. So every vote counts.
A couple elections. Yeah, every vote counts, and we saw that. We saw that in August.
Yeah, we did. Saw that. So this is one and none. So please make sure you go and you visit PriscillaTaylorForCongress.com. If you have any questions, please call 561-844-9905 and make sure that you understand who you're putting into these positions. As you can see, we are struggling and suffering because of who we have as a governor and who we have in the state house as well as in the Senate house.
And the senators from Florida.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. And everything. Yeah. And they're being detrimental, not even the people in their party is suffering. So just know that, we need a voice that's going to be there and be consistent and push for us no matter what and don't back down. Right. Absolutely. So it's important that we know and listen and research who we're going to vote for. As you see, your vote does matter. Your vote is your superpower, and you must use it, no matter what the governor decides to do in terms of trying to suppress our vote. But what we've always thought of, or what I've always learned from Sandra, is that necessity is the mother of inventions, and we will invent a legal way to make sure that our vote is counted. Okay, just putting the disclaimer out there. We got to do it legally, people. All right. So thank you so much.
It's motivation. We see it as motivation.
That's right. Thank you so much for your time. We've already shared this to like 24 groups already, and we plan on sharing it some more. And if you would like to also, Representative Taylor, to share it yourself, and hopefully we can garner people so they can learn more about you as the days go along. Okay.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
All righty.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye. What happened? Oh, I'll come deal with it in a minute. Hey. Now, all right. So we got Priscilla Taylor to come talk to us today.
It was fun. I liked it.
I like her too.
I liked it. And I like her. You know why I like her? Because she was just like, this is what it is. Even when she didn't know something, she's like, I didn't hear nothing about it. I don't know nothing about that.
Like, I don't know nothing about you and these sex workers you talking about. What you trying to do?
But she was like, I don't know nothing about this.
How y'all living in Broward?
Okay. And I love how she says, she's like, yeah, I agree with that. I just like how she
apart.
I love it. I love that. I love that she was like honest about it. She was like, I don't know nothing about that.
Sex workers, wait, what? Like, I go to church on Sunday. Like, what you mean?
And she was upfront about her stuff. She was like, well, what you saying? She's like, well, so what? Is there levels to the prostitution?
Is that
like levels to it? I love it. I love it. Okay.
Yeah, no, that's a tricky one. That is a tricky one.
It is a tricky one. But I like that. I like that she even thought about it, because she thought about it when you were talking to her. She's like, well, okay, if you're saying it like this, I'm okay with that. Like, she's like, I'll be okay with something like that.
We can't have them around here infecting folks now.
I just thought that was cool. I was like, okay, if you're saying it that way, if that's what they're doing, okay, I'm okay with that. You know, if folks have stuff on their ankles and then they doing the program and volunteering,
where they at. We need to know
I like that. I like that she was honest about that. She was like, I ain't nothing, because as soon as you said sex workers, she's like, did you say sex workers?
I said sex workers. I sure did. You know, because that's what them ladies got to do. Hey, they got a product out there that people willing to pay for. That's how they can earn their money. They're like, I can't go out here trying to carjack or rob nobody. So hey, somebody.
So I liked her experience. I liked that she talked about a lot of things that she's done, a lot of things that she's thinking about doing. I like the fact that she was just very pragmatic. She wasn't like, I like it because it sounds good. She was just really upfront about everything. And I think that comes from having that experience. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. And like she said, she was in an insurance business where she had to sell insurance to everybody. And you do, like, when you're in a business of dealing with people, you do learn a skill set that helps you, be able to have a conversation with everyone, right? And you realize that you can't approach every person or every situation the same. You get that, you develop that skill set. And I think that is something, an asset that she have that would allow her to be able to work across the aisle.
Absolutely. And the fact that she was appointed at the time from a governor that was a Republican.
But Charlie Crist done been everything. He done been a Democrat, Republican, Independent, Lord,
So you don't take Charlie Crist's
listen, Charlie Crist, whatever he need to be in order for him to win.
So he running as a Democrat this time.
I think so. Yeah, I think he's running as a Democrat this time.
He decided to run it. Okay.
Well, unless the Democrats nominate like Nikki Free, then he gonna run as an independent. So
I guess it must be nice to do. I guess it must be nice to be interchangeable.
No, but the fact that she was able to do that, you know what I mean? That says volume. That does mean that she at least had to have had a relationship with the governor at the time in order for her to get that appointment. So
absolutely.
That's
I love the fact that she talks about homelessness and the poverty, and the numbers. about how high it is and how it shouldn't be that way. And I like that. It to me, it sounds like that was one of her, when I looked at other forums, that was one of her pet peeves, like one of her like things that she really wanted to attack. And I really like that, because I think for us, Black people, and especially those who live in poverty, we don't have enough people speaking for them. Or for us, that we need people that's going to make this and highlight that as a big thing to kind of get us through. Because I feel like, you know, with this opioid pandemic that they're trying to make it seem like it is, you see how many people coming out trying to make it a thing. But then when there was a crack thing and it was only affecting Black people, that wasn't on the table like the way that it is. So I love the fact that she's still kind of like, this is what it is. And I really want to make sure that we do something to get that number down. You know, 41% is high.
Yeah,
she said it shouldn't be that way.
And I'm telling you, you go there, it really is a different world. You just like, wait, what? This how folks living for real in America?
That's awful. That's awful.
Different.
It's awful. And I'm glad that she highlighted that. I'm also like, you know, she answered most of my questions before I even got an opportunity to ask
me. I was taking notes and I kind of had to cross some things out. I'm like, she addressed that. I followed up on some of the things that she talked about.
I just think it just came natural. It wasn't something that she like kind of prepared for. Like, this is so it gives you that feeling that she has all of these things as part of who she is and her platform. So I like that. Yes, I like that. So tomorrow we'll be talking to
the lady number 3.
Lady number 3. We got all 3 ladies. Did you see how I'm so happy that we got all 3?
Barbara Sharif Manana.
Okay, we're gonna be talking to her, and I really got to do some research with her, because I saw her in action in them 2 forums, and she was ready. She is ready, honey.
She's like, "What you about to ask me? I got all the answers. Come with y'all questions."
Okay,
yeah, Barbara Sharif, be ready, boy.
We got to be ready.
She ain't studied yet. I ain't see her study yet, and I done see about. I think I done watched about 4 of them. She ain't studied yet.
And I haven't seen no wavering, just like on point. Be like, this is what you need. This is what I'm gonna give you.
Like, you got a question about Israel? Let me tell you about BDS. So she has not stuttered. Yeah, she has not stuttered.
Listen, it should be
to the point where some people said, "Yeah, what Barbara said."
That's true.
It's like all the folks are like, "Yeah, what Barbara said." What Barbara said. That's it.
Oh yeah, I agree with Barbara, and I'm going to add what you're going to add. You ain't going to add nothing but just repeat what she said. But that's what they
said it all. All right, we get to talk to Barbara, Commissioner Dr. Barbara Sharif tomorrow.
Yep, and then
on the same time
at 5:00, and on the 15th we have a treat.
Libertarian.
We're talking to Mike Termat. I think that's how you pronounce it. On the 15th, he is the Libertarian candidate. I would love to hear what he is going to do for District 20 if he is so fortunate to be chosen. I'm just really interested. I've never had an opportunity to speak.
We're trying to find Miss Fine. Is that her name? The writing candidate. We want to talk to you too.
If anybody knows
us, we really want to talk to you.
We really want to talk to her, okay? Because that writing candidate's sister, I saw her on the thing last night, and I was like, I got to talk to this sister right here. This sister on point.
We're finna go try to find you.
We're going to find you, Miss Fine, because we are very, very interested in talking to you, sister.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So we're going to let you all go.
Yes.
We did our wrap up. You see Priscilla Taylor for Congress on the screen there. If you have any questions, please call her number. Again, like, share, subscribe our video, put in comments, send us suggestions on what you would like to see on the show. Be all about doing things or whatever, but we're finishing up the last haul of our candidates. So tomorrow will be Dr. Barbara.
Unless we get Ms. Fine to come talk to us.
Oh, unless we find Ms. Fine. We're gonna stick her in somewhere. Yes, we will.
Yes.
We've so far we've done everybody except for in the Democrats.
Person don't want to talk to us.
No, I don't know if he doesn't want to talk to us, but we put out feelers and calls and emails, and we have yet to hear back. So if anybody knows
but Suzette Speaks did a very good interview with him on on her Let's Talk Justice page. So even though he don't want to come talk to us, it's okay. But
we don't know that for sure.
He want to talk to us. Suzette Speaks did come. Did have a conversation with him, which was very good. So check out her Let's Talk Justice page.
Let's Talk Justice, and we also shared it on our page. If you want to go check out that interview, we thought it was a great interview. We both jumped on there in the interview. We asked some of our questions, so maybe some of our questions were asked. The other thing too, she said she is all about term limits. So I like that. Yeah. I really like that. So that's important.
I think 12 years is about enough.
I agree.
I think it's about like whatever. If you can't do nothing in 12,
I agree. I totally agree. I think 12 years is a good time frame especially for Congress. I think that you can get a lot accomplished in 12 years.
If you can't, then
during that 12 years, I think you should also be making sure you're looking for someone to take your seat. That's gonna take over. You train
the mentors that you've trained and prepared. That's right.
And more than one. Do more than one. Don't do just one. Do more than one. And if you see that special spark, you should really kind of groom a few people and encourage them
and endorse them.
And then that's how it's supposed to be. You shouldn't be in Congress for 40 years, 50 years, 30 years.
That experience is all good, but goodness.
Yeah, and the thing is that you can't be there for all that time and nothing has changed under your leadership.
I mean, some things change. It's not enough things have changed.
Okay.
They don't go there and do nothing. They do something.
I didn't say they didn't go there and do nothing. But I feel like if it's not enough, I think that you should, honestly, term limits is what needs to happen. If the presidency has term limits, I think every other elected seat should have term limits too. That really provides and foster change with the times. You can't have somebody that's sitting there and in their own, sometimes they're being their own way. So I think 12 years is a good time.
Everybody else's way.
That people knock you off your pedestal because you don't want to leave. You got to go. 12 years. So you said 12. I say 10, but whatever.
12. No, because the senators are there. Oh, the senators are there for 6. So I guess 12. 2 terms and that's it.
Oh, okay.
Senate seats are 6 years.
Or 2 years?
They're 6. Representatives are 2 years. But the Senate seats are 6.
Oh, yeah. You should go.
So, 2 terms. That's it.
You got to go. But for the 2-year ones, because the congressional one that she's running for is 2 years, right?
It's a 2-year seat.
I think 10 years is enough. But for the 2-year ones, because why did this just go out like that?
Yeah, so I think 12. But okay.
All right. So it is what it is. So we will see you all tomorrow when we talk to Dr. Barbara Sharif. Can't wait to speak to her. And then next week, Wednesday, I think we have the Libertarian. And if between that time, in between time, we'll try to see if we can get Ms. Fine on, and then hopefully somebody out there will call and ask Perry Thurston if he wants to talk to us. I want you to come talk to us.
Come talk to me.
Come talk to us. All right, you all have a good night.
All righty.
Drive safe. It's rainy out there. Be safe. Wear your mask. Don't think about what the governor talking about. Please wash your hands. Wear your mask. Don't listen to him, child. He's gonna take you down.
They have consequences.
They sure do. Wear your mask. I don't try to push the vaccine, but I do say that I strongly suggest you get vaccinated. And if you don't want to, please use precaution. Okay. Wear your mask. Wash your hands. Try to social distance as much as possible, and love on your distance. What?
Social distance. Don't try. Social distance.
Social distance.
And you don't want to wear no mask. Back up.
Okay, and I be the one at Publix, be the one be like, why you over here down in my neck? I'll be the first one. Personal space, okay? Personal space. Mm-hmm. All right. So we'll see you all tomorrow.
Bye.
And I'm gonna make sure we do our commercial.